Hello, everybody, and welcome back to False Nine Footy. So, who should Manchester United's new striker be? That's the question. Obviously, it hasn't worked out with Rasmus Højlund as the primary choice, and obviously, they also have Joshua Zirkzee as a secondary option. But yeah, for the past couple of seasons, it's been Rasmus Højlund, and he really hasn't. Obviously, he hasn't done well. In the last Premier League season, in 32 matches, he scored only 4 goals, which obviously is it's abysmal. Really, it's not good enough. And if you watch them play as well, you could just tell like he's, in terms of quality, he doesn't possess that much. You just don't see something there that makes you think this guy can really turn into something great. You don't see a lot of potential. When I watched him, I just wasn't impressed with how he played, and I just didn't see anything special there. So obviously, Amorim, one of the things he has to do this transfer window is sign a new striker. He signed Matheus Cunha, he signed Brian Mbeumo, so now the two attacking midfielder / winger positions behind the striker are filled. But obviously now you need a striker. And, if they do sign a striker, they also need midfielders because their midfield is not good enough right now. Casemiro, Eriksen need to go. Obviously, the only real good midfielders they have, the serviceable ones they have, are Ugarte, Bruno Fernandes. Even, Kobe Mainoo's all right off the bench. But they really don't have much there in terms of midfielders. You need to go out and get like a Nemecha or an Ederson from Atalanta, players like that. But at striker, there are a couple options that I think if United get one of these players, I think that it puts them in a great position moving forward. But, this is so important because if they sign a player that, again, if they sign a player that a lot of people already know isn't that good. I'll mention a few names here. If they sign a Nicholas Jackson, I mean, that would just be terrible. I can't even believe that that's an option that's been floated around. I just, for me, it's honestly, I can't understand it. So it's very important, to sign the right player because it's who you're going to rely on to score goals. So Arsenal went out and got a Victor Gyökeres. That is going to really improve them, moving forward. So the striker position is really important, and you have to make the right signing. So in this video, I mainly have 3 options that I think if Manchester United signs one of these players, I think it will really help them moving forward in terms of the rebuild, in terms of just improving overall. No one's expecting them to win the league this season, but if they finish 6th, 5th, I think that's a great season for Manchester United, given the quality of the Premier League now, and that a lot more teams now are good than ever before. So yeah, the competition of the Premier League is just so much more intense than it's ever been. So if Manchester United can finish 6th, 7th, 5th, that's great. So the main target that I think Manchester United should look to acquire this transfer window, the priority signing has to be Benjamin Šeško at RB Leipzig. For me, his potential is enormous. In 33 matches last year in the Bundesliga, he scored 13 goals, 5 assists. In the Champions League, in 8 matches, he scored 4 goals. He's 22 years old, 6'5". He's great on the ball. He kind of reminds me of Haaland. Like when he was in the Bundesliga, he's just a couple years younger than Haaland, and he also he gives me like Zlatan Ibrahimovic kind of vibes in terms of his quality. And yeah, that's a player that I kind of compare him to. Zlatan. Obviously, Zlatan, had a great career, and I'm not saying Benjamin Šeško is there yet, but for me, he has that kind of potential. He's going to be a very, very good striker. And so if I'm the manager of Manchester United, I make him the priority signing at striker. He would be the number one option, in my opinion. According to Transfer Market, he's worth 70 million euros. So, you know, it's doable. Obviously, they signed Cunha and Mbeumo for 130 million pounds combined. So, you know, you could still buy Šeško and have spent less than 200 million pounds. So, yeah, around, and maybe be even at 200 million pounds. But that's still honestly all right. It's not bad because Šeško is a very good player, and yeah, for me, he has to be the priority signing because his potential is incredible, and he's a very good player that has a lot of quality. So Šeško for me is the number one option if I'm Amorim. I do, whatever I can to get Šeško. If I can't get Šeško, the number two option, in my opinion, should be Samu Omarodian from Porto. This guy, he's a year younger than Šeško. He's 21. He's 6'4". Chelsea wanted to acquire him last season. This last year in Porto, in the Portuguese league, at Porto in the Portuguese league, in 30 matches, 19 goals, 3 assists. In the Europa League, 9 matches, 6 goals. If you watch him play, he's a force to be reckoned with. 6'4", strong. He's fast. He's very decent on the ball. He's very decent. And honestly, he's good. No, he's good on the ball. He's good on the ball. He's good in the air. He's strong. He's fast. I think his game suits the Premier League. He's physical, so I think honestly he for me is a great second option. If you can't get Šeško, go for Samu. According to Transfer Market, he's only worth 50 million pounds, or 50 million euros. Sorry. For me, Samu, again, he's a year younger than Šeško. He had a great season at Porto. For me, he's going to be really good. He's got great potential. So yeah, Samu would be number 2 for me. And then number 3 has to be Moise Kean, in my opinion. Moise Kean had a great year at Fiorentina. He's finally broken out, because for so long he's had, he's had that potential, to be almost, I don't want to say like Drogba, but for me, he's kind of has that Drogba-esque quality. He's fast, he's physical, he's got that kind of game to him, and he's competitive. He's very competitive. If you watch them play, like, you can just tell he wants to win. So he's finally broken out. 19 goals, 3 assists in 32 matches last year in Serie A for Fiorentina after he left Juventus. And as a Juventus fan, I wish he stayed at Juventus, but once we signed Vlahovic, he became kind of the secondary option at striker. Obviously, you sign Vlahovic for big money, you have to play Vlahovic, and Moise Kean, you could tell he just wasn't happy being second choice, and so went to Fiorentina, played very well. And yeah, according to Transfer Market, he's worth 50 million euros. I think he'd be a great third option. He's 25, so he's more established than Samu and Šeško. But I think he'd be a great third option, in my opinion. And I've heard people float around the idea of Ollie Watkins possibly as an option at striker for Manchester United. I actually, I don't love this. I don't love this option, Ollie Watkins, because, he's 29. Again, 29 is still not incredibly old, but it's kind of like you're at the tail end of your prime. You could still say it's your prime, like 29, 30, 31. Okay, you can still say you're in your prime as an athlete, as a footballer. But I think with Ollie Watkins, it's like you know what you're getting. You know, it's not world class. It's really good. It's good. Like last year in the Premier League in 38 matches, 16 goals, 8 assists. That's great. But I just think like when you sign a Šeško, you're like, that guy has the potential to maybe score 20, 25 goals, 30 goals in the Premier League even. Like that's how good I think Šeško can be. Even a Samu, maybe 20 goals, 25 goals, and like 5 assists. You know, I think guys like Samu and Šeško are better just because of their potential. You know, I think it's greater. Both of them have greater potential than Watkins. So, you know, and you can argue maybe Ollie is he's better than both of them right now, even though I don't think he's better than, you could say maybe he's better than Samu, but not Šeško. Definitely not Šeško. Or even Šeško, you can say that. But in a few years, Šeško is going to be, you know, miles better than Watkins, and same with Samu, in my opinion. So I don't love the Ollie Watkins, you know, people saying they should sign Ollie Watkins. You know, even though he had a great year, he's had a couple great years in the Premier League, I just think, you know, there are other options. So yeah, I don't think they should sign Ollie Watkins personally. But you know, and again, you know, the other options that I've heard thrown out there, like Nicholas Jackson, I just, you know, that to me is an unserious signing. There's no way Manchester United should be linked with Nicholas Jackson if you're serious about rebuilding your team, you know, in a way that will make them competitive in a year, in this year, or in a year or two. I just don't. You can't be serious about a rebuild if you sign a player like Nicholas Jackson, in my opinion. This, to me, this striker signing that Amorim makes, well, it will kind of show people how serious you are about your rebuild. You have to sign a good striker. It's so important. So for me, if they sign a Šeško, if they sign a Samu, even a Moise Kean, I think it's a step in the right direction. Anybody else, you know, again, it's, to me, I would question any other striker that they bring in. Like there's also Karim Konate. He's at RBC. He's at Salzburg. You know, if it's a Karim Konate, but I think he got injured last season. But he's really good. But I don't know anybody other than those three that I mentioned. I would love to hear your opinions in the comments, because these are my 3 options that I think Manchester United should go after. Should make these 3 should be the ones they prioritize. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys think in terms of what strikers maybe I missed, or what strikers you think are better than the 3 I mentioned, that are better options for Manchester United. So yeah, with all that being said, thanks for watching.